You're watching this video so that you can take some notes on the C2 worksheet that you have in front of you. Remember that you have to use pencil, so make sure you have a pencil while you're working on this. And one of the main ideas is what I want you to think about while you're watching is that you are coming up with questions that you have about what's going on. So rather than just taking the notes and not really thinking about what's going on, make sure that you're thinking, I might need to ask a question about something that's happening. So just be aware that questions can be answered at the end, or if you're watching this at home, make sure you bring in questions that you have for me. All right, we're going to go ahead and start with example 1. Example 1 is just solve the equation. So we have to, it looks like to me, we have to distribute this -3. Remember, the symbol outside has to go with that 3. Okay, so I'm going to distribute the -3 to the x. That just means to multiply those two things together. And then we have a -3 times a +5. And when we multiply a negative and a positive, we come up with a negative. This plus 4x does not have to change at all. And then we have that equal to 25. So now, in my second step, this was just step 1, distributing. And then I have to combine the things that are alike. So I have a -3x and a +4x. Okay, so the first thing was distribute. All right, anything that you can see that you need to distribute. And then we're going to combine the x terms. And once I do that, I'm going to have positive x because a 4 and a -3x. That's going to come to just x minus 15 equals 25. All right, now my next step is going to be to try to get x by itself. So to get x by itself, I have to add 15 to both sides. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other side. Why is x by itself? Because these things cancel. My x is still here, and 25 plus 15 is 40. So I should have x equals 40 as my final answer, and of course you can plug that back in just to verify that it is correct. All right, we're going to go on to the next word problem. This one's actually a real world problem, so this is one that you might actually come up with, you know, in the future of your life, or maybe your parents have considered a question like this for themselves. And let's go ahead and read it through. A health club charges an initiation fee of $50. So we do want to know some important information that we're going to have to use in solving, so that looks like an important piece. Members then pay $45 per month, another important piece, per month pricing. You have $400 to spend on health club membership. For how many months can you afford it? So this is the important question. For how many months are you going to be able to afford to be a member? So we're being asked to write an equation using the information above. Let n represent the number of months. I just want to remind you that you know about equations with this form. Okay, y equals mx plus b. X is the unknown, and in this case we don't know how many months, and that could be what we do for n there. We know that we have a certain amount of money to spend on the health club membership, so I was going to say that that would be the 400 that we know we have to spend. So 400 equals some number of months times 45, and the $50 that we must pay to begin our membership. Okay, so we know that that is set. Everybody who joins has to pay $50 just to get started. All right, and then we have the $45 that we have to pay per month. And it tells us here to use n as the representation of the number of months. So that's what I have here. So the next thing I have to do is, you know, get things together that are alike. This 50, this 400, both of them do not have a variable. And I would like you to come up with the final answer here, but just remember, just want to write this little hint, no partial months of membership. Okay, so no partial months, which means that you're going to need to round appropriately. Okay, so rounding appropriately to figure out the number of months that you can afford. You have to have a whole $45 to pay for the next month. You cannot be a member for a partial month. All right, let's go down to the next. The ones that have the square around them, this just says here, exercises, solve the equation, show work. So let's make sure that we show all of our work. I'm going to go ahead and do number 6. And we do have to solve for x. So remember in our previous video, we had some problems where there was a denominator. And basically what I want to do is multiply both sides by 7 because that denominator has got to go away so that I can actually get an equation to solve. So my 7 is gone out of the denominator once I multiply both sides by 7. And I end up with 2x plus 5 equals, 2x minus 5 equals 28. And I can cancel, the denominator by multiplying both sides by 7. The second step then is going to get x by itself. I need this term to stay by itself, so therefore I'm going to add 5. That's the opposite operation that I see there. It's a negative 5. If I want to cancel it out, I have to do plus 5 on both sides. All right, I have 2x left over on the left, and I have 33 now on the right. Well, 2 is an even number, 33 is not an even number, so I know for sure that I'm going to end up with a decimal in this particular problem. So the 2 over the 2 is going to cancel. 33 divided by 2 happens to be 16.5 or 16 and a half, and that is my final answer. All right, so I do want to see all of your work. There might be several steps. That one happened to have 3 steps, and let's just mark those steps. The first step was actually multiplying by 7. The second step was adding 2. The third step was dividing by 2. We're going to go over here and do number 7. In number 7 there will be 3 steps, so let's make sure we get all of them. We have a negative c and a 9c. Those things are alike because they both have a variable. I can't just combine them and say that that is 8c. I have to actually add a c to both sides. All right, that's going to cancel here. Some students make the mistake of just combining them without, following the rules of algebra. They make up their own algebra rules. Hopefully you're not that student. Okay, the next thing I have here is a negative 11 with no variable and a 29 with no variable. So I'm going to add 11 to both sides. All right, there's step number 2. I'm going to bring down my 10c because it's still there. And 29 plus 11 is 40. Next step, divide both sides by 10. Why am I dividing by 10? Because I want my variable by itself. 10 over 10 is just 1. So now I can see that c is going to be 4 because 40 divided by 10 is 4. Now in this one, I had this step, adding the c to both sides, this step, adding 11 to both sides, and this step where I divided by 10 to come up with my answer. So you may have multiple steps in order to get to your solution. Okay, now I'm going to finish up on this page with number 9. Let's go ahead and try this one. We do have some distribution that we need to do. The 5 has to be distributed to both the k and the 2. So 5 times k is 5k, 5 times 2 is 10. And then on the right hand side, I'm going to distribute the 3 to the k and the 3 to the negative 4. So I end up with 3k minus 12. Now I do have a couple of things that look alike, this 5k and this 3k. I do have to try to get them on one side of the equation. So in this case, I like to take the negative 3. All right, that's going to cancel here. It's going to leave with a positive 2k. I don't really like my variables to have a negative number or negative coefficient, so I always try to subtract the littler number and keep things as positive as possible. Okay, so I brought down my negative 12 from this side. I brought down my positive 10, and those things can be combined. So we have a 10 with no variable, a negative 12 with no variable, and to get those things combined, I'm going to subtract 10 here. That's going to cancel. Subtract 10 here, and I'm left with 2k, and negative 12 and negative 10 is negative 22. dividing both sides by 2 because I want my k by itself here. Divide by 2, I have k equals negative 11. Okay, so several steps. Actually, there were 4 steps in that problem, and you just got to stick with it, be perseverant, persevere through some of these challenges, ask questions if you don't understand something, and let's go ahead and go to the second page. Now, in order to begin our chapter on geometry, which we will be starting tomorrow, I do want you to be aware of some of the vocabulary terms and also some ways to solve some of the problems that we're going to be working on. Let me move up. Oops. I'm going to move up to the top of this page. Okay, and we do have a gift certificate type problem. I'm going to do number 10. I'm going to leave number 11 for you to try on your own. Number 10 says that we have a $50 gift certificate. We want to buy a book, one book that costs $8.99, and then we want to buy boxes of stationery. Now the boxes of stationery cost $4.59. And the question that we're looking to solve is how many boxes of stationery can you buy with your gift certificate, since we already know we're buying that one book. And let me just give you a hint. Once again, we already know that y equals mx plus b will probably be our setup for this, because we have a constant here that's going to be how much the book cost. And then we have a variable of how many stationery boxes can we buy. And we know that the boxes of stationery are each $4.59. So if I write my equation out, I have $50. I know that each box of stationery is $4.59. And I also know that I want to buy one book. So now I'm going to have to solve this by subtracting the $8.99 from both sides, right? As soon as I spend the $8.99, I'm down to how much am I left with? 50 minus $8.99, that's going to be $41.01. And now I can figure out how many boxes of stationery I want to buy, or I can buy, not just how much I want to buy, but how much I can buy. $4.59 divided into what I have left after I buy my book. And we cannot buy any partial boxes of stationery. So if you take your calculator out and do this division here, 4101 divided by 459, you'll see that you can buy more than 8 boxes, but not a total of 9 boxes. I believe it was 8.93. And therefore we cannot say that we can buy 9 boxes because we won't have enough money left on our gift certificate. For number 11, I'm going to ask you to do that one. Just remember that this is one of the main things here, is explaining. In geometry, we're going to do a lot of explaining because we're going to be doing proofs. Here's the answer to the problem, but you need to explain how you get that answer. So 17 people are going to be able to come to your party that you're catering. I need to know how it is that it's 17. So work that problem out and then also give me an explanation, please. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of these terms. I have a term here that starts with a P, and the definition is the distance around a polygon. The distance around a polygon is called the perimeter. Okay, notice that polygon starts with P, perimeter starts with P. And then it says the distance around a circle. Okay, what's the term that we use to talk about the distance around a circle? It's the circumference. Okay, notice that circle starts with C and circumference starts with C. So that's easy to remember how those go together. Number 13 here says the number of square units covered by a figure is its area. Okay, square units, if we were doing a square, and this side is 6 and this side is 6, we're just going to multiply those together and it's going to be 36 square units. That's the area that covers. All right, just a reminder about absolute value in numbers 14, 15, 16, and 17. Absolute value is a distance from 0. distance from 0 on the number line. Okay, so we don't have any negative numbers. Absolute value cannot be negative. So basically, if we take a look at number 14 here, 4 minus 6 is negative 2. And when I see that in the absolute value sign, the symbols there, I need to remove the negative and understand that my answer is just going to be 2. The next section on this worksheet here asks us to evaluate the expression when x is 2. So let's take a look at number 21. In number 21, if we were to substitute in a 2 for every time we see an x, let's rewrite this. Negative 5 times 2, I'm replacing the x with a 2, minus 4 plus 2 times 2. All right, we had some like this in our previous work. Remember that the order of operations says we have to work left to right. So left to right, this here is going to end up being negative 10. We have a negative 4, and then 2 times 2 is positive 4. And you probably already noticed here that we have a negative 4 and a positive 4. Those are going to cancel, and that leaves us just with negative 10. So for all of these problems, numbers 18 through 21, you're going to be substituting the number 2 in for x. So you're going to be completing the problems that I have not completed here. And I am going to do numbers 24 and 26 just as some more review. We had some problems like these before, but it's always good to practice these lots and lots of times just to keep in shape. All right, for number 24, we have a 7y and a 2y that I'm going to combine. 9y minus 5 equals negative 32. And in order to get the variable term by itself, I'm going to get rid of this other term. And getting rid of that term just means doing the opposite operation. This is a negative 5, therefore I have to add 5. I have 9y left. And over here I'm going to have negative 27. 9 and 27, those are going to be easy for us to divide, so I'm just going to take this side and divide by 9. That cancels those. And divide by 9 again. So here I'm going to have y equals negative 3. And the final problem I'm going to do with you here in this video is number 26. So let's take a look at number 26. Number 26 has a denominator of 7 in one of those terms. And remember, when we have this type of problem, we want to get rid of that right away. But before I do anything, I have a 4 and a 10 that I want to combine. So I'm going to get rid of this 4 by subtracting 4 from both sides. Okay, so that cancels. Now I'm ending up with m over 7 equals 6. 10 minus 4 is 6. Now again, anytime you have something in the denominator, we want to multiply both sides by that number. And that's going to get rid of 7 over 7 because it just becomes a 1. M equals 42. Okay, so feel free to use a calculator. Also feel free to ask questions if you're getting stuck on something, but you definitely want to use a pencil on your work, and you also definitely want to show all of your work for full credit.